Hey guys, and welcome to the very first episode of Cosmic Sister. My name is Lady and I am your host, and this is a podcast dedicated for people who are committed to evolving into the best versions of themselves. I want to start this podcast off by saying thank you so much for tuning in. I am very happy and very grateful to finally be here and be doing this. So yeah, let's do it. So Cosmic Sister is basically the loving, wise, and supportive bigger sister that I always wish I had growing up. Someone that could provide me some kind of guidance, because I feel like I could have saved myself a lot of time and trouble had I had that. But I don't regret, nor do I wish I didn't go through the things that I did, because it's thanks to that I am who I am and that I am here. So the reason that I wanted to start this podcast is because my heart truly aches for the girl that I used to be. I wish I could go back in time sometimes to hug myself and tell myself that everything that I was going through was going to serve a bigger purpose, because I spent a lot of time being depressed and I became very suicidal. I got to a point where I wouldn't get out of bed. I would just cry myself to sleep every single day. I lost all motivation. I lost all of my ambition. I didn't care anymore. I stopped talking to my friends. I stopped going to work. I stopped everything. And it was a very tough time. It was very lonely and I just didn't understand. I would always ask, like, why me? Why do I have to go through this? Why is this happening to me? And I didn't quite understand why, but now I get to look back and I really am grateful that I overcame a lot of the things that I did, and I've been able to learn and grow from everything. I feel like one of the most beautiful things about us are our struggles, because those are really the things that shape us and build character within us. And I think we can all say that we have gone through really tough things, and it also just makes you more understanding and loving towards other people, to accept that about yourself and to know that you're not a victim, and to know that other people also have it bad. We're not the only ones. And I feel like we can come together and help each other by sharing our experiences. And that is what I want to do here on this podcast, is to share my experiences. And by no means do I think that I'm better or smarter than anybody just because I'm on this podcast sharing anything. And by no means do I want to come across on my podcast as somebody that thinks they know it all or has it all figured out, because by no means do I think that, because I still fight a constant battle between who I am and who I want to be. But I know that this podcast will be helpful both to myself and people out there, because I can always come back and revisit my episodes and just listen to my own advice, because I know it's really hard for sometimes to take your own advice. I know we're really good at telling other people what decisions they should make or what they should do or how they should do things, but we don't really listen to it ourselves, unless someone else kind of tells us. So I feel like, this can serve that way for me, and that's why I love journaling as well. When I journal, I write down. Anyways. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Lady. I'm 23 years old. I'm a mom. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm very passionate about mental wellness, woman empowerment, and truth. I feel like we have been conditioned and programmed to think and act a certain way in this society, and they really fail to teach us the most important things in order for us to be able to thrive in this society. In order for us to be able to thrive. They didn't teach us how to take care of our bodies. They didn't teach us how to cope with our emotions. They didn't teach us how to invest our money. They basically taught us how to be slaves. You go to school for 12 years, you learn a bunch of stuff that you're never really going to use in the real world. And then you go to school again for 4 more years to learn a career that's going to have you working a job for, probably 40 years. And then you retire and then you die. And I feel like life is more meaningful and more purposeful than that. I feel like the old ways are starting to crumble down. And it's time for us to really take back our power and take control over what we really want our lives to be like, because there's more to just what they have told us. So growing up, I come from a immigrant family. My parents are both. So growing up for me, I grew up with immigrant parents. So my whole life, I saw them work minimum wage jobs to make ends meet and put food on our tables. Yes. Yeah, but I'm not done yet. Here. I sent you a screenshot. Where? 999. Excuse me. So growing up, I come from an immigrant family. So growing up, my parents are both from Mexico, and growing up, they worked minimum wage jobs their whole lives to put food on our table and provide for us. So I always... Okay. So growing up, I come from an immigrant family. Okay. So my story is I was born in Mexico. My parents brought me and my older brother to the United States for a better life. My whole life, I saw my parents work minimum wage jobs to make ends meet and put food on our table. It was very hard for... Okay. So growing up, I come from an immigrant. So growing up, my parents both come from Mexico. Okay. So growing up, my parents were both from Mexico, and they could only get minimum wage paying jobs. So our whole lives, we lived paycheck to paycheck, trying to make ends meet and put food on our table. It wasn't... So I don't come from money. I don't come from money or anything like that. I always knew when I was younger that I wanted to be rich one day and retire my parents and just take care of them and pay them for everything that they've done for us, because coming to a whole nother country so that we could have a better life was the biggest blessing that I could have. I don't know what my life would be like in Mexico. I know that things out there are a lot harder and a lot worse than they are here in America. We're really living in the land of the dreams, and I live out to just, make the best of every moment that I am able to be here. Okay. So my story is I come from two immigrant parents. They moved to the United States, and they brought me and my brother here so that we could have a better life. My whole life, I saw my parents work minimum wage jobs to make ends meet and put food on the table. My mom eventually became a single mom. My dad split up. My mom and my parents split up. Eventually, my parents split up, and my mom was a single mom. She took care of me and my brother. And later on, my mom remarried, and she had my two stepsisters. And so I am the second of 4 kids, and I don't know about... And so I was a middle child. Okay. So I always knew growing up that So my family was pretty dysfunctional growing up. Unfortunately, minimum wage jobs don't really get you into the best neighborhoods. You don't get to pick where you want to live. Really, you just kind of settle for what you get. And so we did. It wasn't too bad. I am very grateful. I've always had food on my table. I've always had clothes on my back. I've always had a roof over my head. I've never gone without. But it does come to show that money, a lot of people say money isn't everything, but money is almost up there with oxygen. You need money in order to live money can really buy you a lot of things, like a better education, being in a better neighborhood and things like that. I'm not saying that people that are rich have a easier life or anything like that, but you do get a little bit more of options. You kind of get to decide what you want, how you want, where you want. And so I've always told myself that it was going to be my goals to one day retire my parents and provide a better life for my kids. So I was going to work hard and I was going to accomplish all of the things that I set my mind to. So unfortunately, not being in the best neighborhoods is also, I don't know what to say here. So when I was around 14, 15 years old, unfortunately in the neighborhoods that we were living in, my brother became influenced and he actually dealt with a drug addiction. My brother actually became addicted to drugs and it really changed my whole life. It was a very traumatizing experience to see somebody that I love, become somebody else because of drugs. It was very, very hard. That's what put me into depression. That's what kept me I need to take a break.